Okay, I call the meeting to order at 7:03. Hold on one second, because I'm reading the agenda for something else. So we have, it looks like we have three different minutes we have to approve. We have to vote. One is last month's meeting, then the other one is the meeting we held on the mask policy. And the third is the executive session minutes when we were discussing the library contract. Okay?
Didn't we vote on the September 2nd mask meeting at the minutes at the last meeting? Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh, did we?
I didn't think we did, but you could be correct. I'm not sure. I only assume we hadn't because it's in the agenda. It's in the packet.
Yeah, I have it in the secretary's report for the September meeting.
We voted on the towns. This is something separate. This
Oh, is it a new? This is okay.
This is new.
The mask thing, yes, but
No.
the minutes from that September 2nd meeting.
Yeah, the minutes from the September 2nd meeting, did we vote on those on the 22nd? I'm trying to find the,
Based on my notes, we did. If you go to the secretary's.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it looks, yeah, it's on there under the documents on the secretary's report, September 2nd.
Right, okay. Yes, we did, and it was on
I
the,
think
yeah,
we did.
and it was on the
Okay.
agenda. Okay, I was confused about the executive session. Those are all set. The September 2nds are all set.
Okay, so just we have to do executive session and last month's meeting. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we take last month's meeting first? Entertain a motion on the minutes from last month's meeting, September meeting.
So moved.
I'll
A
second.
second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, well, hearing none, all in favor of accepting last month's meeting minutes? Got to do a hand, a vote. Let's see. Amy,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Chris, you're in the meeting now?
Yes,
Who I missed somebody.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
I went through, okay. Any opposed? Nothing opposed. Yay for me also. Minutes pass. So the second one is the executive session meeting minutes regarding the library contract negotiations. Have a motion, entertain a motion. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the,
Second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor? I'm sorry, not all in favor. Amy,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jackie, not Jackie, Jeff,
Yes.
who am I missing again? Oh, it's Chris
yes,
And Paul.
and
Oh,
Paul.
yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, my screen is a little screwed up. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it, so that's why. Okay, and I'm an aye, so the minutes pass. So next on the agenda is monthly staff reports. Hear a motion to accept the staff reports.
So moved.
Here a second.
second,
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? Say again?
Jeff made me cry. His goodbye post was
Oh, I
That was
know.
nice.
very touching. And I
Yeah,
like
that was
your
nice.
thoughts for the others.
Yep. He had a good last one, a good, I always look forward to reading
Mhm.
the most interesting question or event or whatever.
And you can find all 265 of them archived.
Yeah.
FYI.
I'll have to let them lay there. I did have a couple things, Catherine. I had not that this was in the in your report, but from yesterday, closing early. I don't question it, but was there any fallout from that at all?
No, which is part of the reason why I decided to do it. It's one of the worst decisions you have to make. All of the directors hate it. Because people might be coming to the building. But part of the reason we were able to do it is because the evenings have been very, very quiet. And so we made the decision kind of spur of the moment based on the fact that there were so few people in the building and so few expected, there were so few out. So it worked out fine.
Okay, I was just, it was pretty nasty last night, and
Yeah, actually what
I
I
don't
did,
think many people would be going out.
no, there was no one out. One of the things that I really didn't think of, which was probably the larger issue, is that Dave travels at like 4 or 5 a.m. So he was coming in and he had been off yesterday. So I forgot about him, but he did fine. He's a trooper. He knows what he's doing. And if it had been really bad, he wouldn't have traveled. So
Yeah, okay.
he made out okay.
There was something else. Oh, I was curious. I read about the Friends and the book sale. So there's not going to be any CDs or DVDs collected?
I guess not. I think they're not selling.
That's what I was going to ask. Has
It's
anybody-
I
maybe
think
nobody's buying them.
yeah, it's a combination of they don't sell and they don't really have the space for them.
Okay, all right.
So-
I just was curious. I actually thought they would be good sellers.
They
Makes
they
sense.
told me too that they don't even want audiobooks. And audiobooks traditionally were really good sellers. So I was kind of surprised by that, but they're just sticking to just books.
Okay, well, it's their call. It's their sale. I was kind of surprised. I would have thought just from over the years when they, I mean, I go back to when we used to get 8-track. I know, I mean, not 8-track, but the VHS tapes. 8-track, that's really dating myself. Some people in this screen don't even know what 8-tracks are probably. No, VHS tapes. So, and they were popular.
Yeah.
People would buy them because, they were kind of expensive, and if you were to purchase them, like brand new. So,
I think people are streaming, so they're not buying, and people are getting rid of stuff. If they don't have to have the stuff in the house, they don't want it. So that's what a DVD is. It's like one more thing.
I know.
So I think
get
they
it.
just, I guess they're just not as popular. So
Well,
I
good
had-
thing books are still popular.
yeah.
I had a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, I agree with Amy that you know, it was very emotional to see that this was Jeff's last recap. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank Catherine for having the get together at her home for Jeff. It got a little cold at the end, but it was a really nice get together, and it was a nice chance to see how together the whole staff is at the library and how supportive they are of each other, and how he mentioned there that this was like family. And you could just see they all had these private jokes. And I mean, it was just a wonderful thing to see, Catherine. I really enjoyed going to that. And it gave you a whole different perspective of how personal the library is to every employee there. And that's not something people might see it a little bit, but I never would have imagined the extent. So I really, thank you for inviting us. That was really great to see. And the other thing is that I wanted to mention that you mentioned the BBCon and the Hispanic festival there that they had both on the patio. And through Facebook, I was seeing those. They would do clips of them live, and I really enjoyed seeing those. Those looked like very well attended things, first of all, which was great to see. But I love seeing the live pictures of how many people go and how much enjoy. I have personally, since all this pandemic stuff, I'm not downtown as much, but it's great to see the library as being a center of a lot of that life coming back. So those were really looks like two well-received programs, and I really appreciate whoever put them together.
Yeah, thank you. I'll pass that on. I liked seeing the video on Facebook as well. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but those videos were, and some of them, the mariachi thing, that went out live when they were doing it.
Yes.
So that was kind of nice.
Right.
Anyone else on any of the staff reports? Okay, well, hearing nothing else, we'll have to vote to accept the staff reports. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We already
Is there a second?
entertained a motion.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, we did the motion. We need to take the vote. I apologize.
Sure.
I'm only
Okay.
paying attention to not the only, but because I'm taking the minutes.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
No.
I'll have Paul, so I don't.
Yes.
miss you this time.
Mhm.
Amy,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, passes. Next we have, I don't think there's any public participation. I don't see anything going on. Nobody's on the screen, right?
Madeline Naper's on the screen.
Madeline's back.
Is she?
Youth Council rep.
Representative.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I think I forgot to send you a little packet, Madeline. I'll write that down and remember to do that next month.
Okay,
Sorry, my microphone wasn't working.
okay. We did have one correspondence that I saw, Catherine. You got a letter from the Boise, Idaho Library, the mayor of Boise, Idaho.
I think it was
do you wanna-
actually the director of the library probably sent it.
Well, I thought that, but I think
It looks like they share letterhead.
Oh, okay, so I thought maybe the director wrote it and the mayor signed it, but either way, I'm just kind of curious, what happened?
So we routinely will send a book back. If we get a book and it doesn't belong to our library, we send it back. And if it can't go locally in delivery, we mail it. So this book was returned to us, and it was from Boise Idaho. So Megan mailed it back. And for Megan, it's routine, but apparently it's not routine in Idaho. So they saw that they got this book from Massachusetts, and being librarians, they looked up Wakefield. And so when
Yeah.
they sent the thank you note, they had all these things about Wakefield. And then after that, they sent a box of spuds. Did you ever open one, Jackie, to find out what they were?
I did. It was chocolate covered marshmallowy something. It very clearly on the package said contains no potatoes.
Okay.
But they looked like potatoes. They were like wrapped potatoes. So that
Well,
was that was fun to see.
No, that was nice. Nice. Somebody took the, even the effort to write the letter and, look up Wikipedia and see what
Yeah.
Wakefield was.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like
it was
that.
fun.
So, but you wonder how a book from Idaho shows up in Wakefield, but
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Did it just end up in the book drop? Do we know who returned it? It was just in the book drop.
you never know. Maybe somebody out there visiting and just put it in their suitcase and brought it home.
Yeah.
All right. That was the only correspondence I'm aware of. Is that right, Catherine?
That was it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, committee reports. We have budget. Anything on budget right now? Nothing.
No.
Okay. I have nothing to report on buildings and grounds since I haven't been around, so I can't report on anything. It seemed a little busy though, based on your report, Catherine. A few things happened.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, it's
Well-
been busy, and I've been getting nervous that things are gonna start falling apart, but we did not have a single leak with all this
Oh,
rain. Did
that's
really
good.
well. Yeah, so the roof seems good. We've got a broken elevator. We have, there's other things, but they all seem relatively small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did see we lost the motor in one of the, those aren't cheap. I know that.
Mm,
So,
Yeah.
but other than that, it is, when I think about it, it's, those things are gonna happen. It's of age. So,
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Speaking of elevators, is the termite issue from going back several months completely resolved and
yeah,
never to be seen again?
they did a follow-up in August and it was fine. And we know what to look for, so we're keeping an eye on it. But I'll have them back in the spring, just to have them do more of an investigation, just to make sure.
Okay.
But we think it's okay.
okay.
Catherine, which elevator is broken? Is it one of the patron elevators?
No, it's not the patron elevator. It's in the back offices. It's very tiny. And we mostly use it to move stuff, heavy things, from floor to floor. But it's useful. It's nice to have that second elevator. It's not critical though, but it is useful.
It's my recollection. It's more like a dumbwaiter than an elevator.
It is. I don't like to get in it. It's so small. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one got stuck in it. No one got stuck in it, and that's how you found out it didn't work. That's good.
Yeah, because that would not be good. Getting
No.
stuck in that would not be good.
Right.
It's an awful. But I don't know if too many people use it. I think a lot of times they just send stuff in it. If big boxes of paper come, they put it there and send it, and then they walk up and meet it. People tend to not get in it.
I know it's been used for blossoms before, but not with
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Do we have a report on Friends?
I think it was just the report that I wrote.
Okay.
Not too much new. They have book sales coming up, what they're calling bag sales. Thursday, the 3rd and the 6th. maybe it's November 3rd is a Wednesday. So there's 2 dates, the 3rd and the 6th. And there'll be bag sales, and then they're marching all along, doing their regular things. And they're in good shape.
Good.
Yep.
Anybody do we have anything on gift funds?
I went to the bank today, repeatedly to the bank. And I knew it was going to be this way. So Scott and Susan have agreed to be signers on the First Financial Trust funds, a checking account. So we have to set up a checking account to receive funds from First Financial Trust. I think how it's going to work out is that if I can go tomorrow and set up the account, if Scott and Susan can go within 24 hours to sign on to that, it will be okay. As long as you can come within 24 hours. For the 3 of us to go together, I don't know how long it would be. Whereas if I just set it up and then I text you and let you know it's set up, then you can go, all you'll need is your license.
Do we bring the forms that we signed to them at that point then?
No, because those forms are for Fidelity. That's totally different.
Oh, got it. Okay,
So what you're gonna do at the savings bank, everything will be done there.
okay,
And then they'll give me a copy of it.
cool.
Sounds good.
That works.
So I'll text you tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
It's all about gift funds.
How about legislative advocacy? Is there anything on that front?
No, there probably will be at the next meeting. I think they're, the legislation is in relatively good shape. The MBLC is asking for more money than they asked for last year, but last year they got everything they wanted. So we'll probably hear more by next month.
Yeah, the next official step is the governor's budget in January. But yeah, I imagine we'll get information coming up before that. But one thing I wanted to add though is there is a virtual trustees orientation for anyone who hasn't taken that, or if it's been a while and you wanted to go again. Tuesday, the 16th of November, 6 to 8. If you're interested, I can get you the link.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, okay. I'll
You-
Catherine, should I
Yeah.
send that to you and you can send that out? I don't want to violate any meeting laws.
No, we can send that out to the whole group. You may even have all got it because the MBLC has your email addresses.
I saw it.
Yeah. you
Yeah, I
may
think I
have-
saw it also.
So I'll just forward it again to make sure that you know what it is.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And anything on personnel?
I don't think so.
Other than you want to, I know you told us we have a new the whole reference department is changed. Actually, the new person started Monday, right?
Yeah,
Okay. How do you pronounce her last name?
I don't know. Is it Dagenay?
I've been saying Dagenais, but I actually don't, I've never said it out loud.
We have, that's
She
funny.
speaks French, so I assume that's how you say it. I could be wrong.
I haven't heard her say it. Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna have to ask tomorrow.
We'll find out.
When I read the name, I was just saying, there's probably a few ways to say this. So, but that's good. I'm glad that got settled pretty easily in terms of, and this experience in 2 public libraries. Did I get that? Was it Winchester and Arlington or something?
Winchester and Arlington, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we had a nice number of applicants. We saw quite a few people. And we had, it was a difficult decision. We had some options. And this seems to work well. So we have, and the French is a plus. The fact that she speaks French is just a plus, that it just so happens that that was Jeff's group. The
Oh, really?
French- Yeah.
I thought Jeff was staying on for French Club, no?
He probably will, but he won't be the library point person.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
the Friends fund someone to the French speaker, I can't remember her name now, who does that like once a month. I think she facilitates twice a month. And so the Friends pay her for that. So that won't go through Jeff.
All right. Actually, now that we're talking about personnel, Catherine, I was going to ask, I don't remember if we do this, but when we start putting the budget together,
Mhm.
do you think we can get an org chart, an updated org chart that shows all the personnel and where they're at?
Yeah.
I definitely lost track of who's who. And not that I would remember everybody, but it'd be nice to, it'd be nice to see that laid out.
So you want everyone's name on it.
Correct, not
The one
just the
with the-
position,
The one
but
with
the
the
name
name.
associated with the position.
Yep.
And you can just do it when we start. I mean, I'd ask you to do it. It's kind of sometimes it's nice to have with a budget prep, So instead, as you're putting the list together for the budget, the org chart can kind of, dovetail with that,
Right. We always have that up to date.
Right.
So tomorrow I just have to go and pull it and make sure that we're
Okay.
using it.
Right. I mean, I don't know if it's useful to other people, but I don't know about, I still definitely, lose track of where people are working. So, and who they are.
That chart shows it nicely.
So, okay, great. All right, if that's it, we're on to new business. So the first new business is November town meeting. And according to your report, Catherine, it sounds like it's gone fairly well with the town administrator, town manager, in the sense that he's willing to present them, which I agree. It would, rather than us doing some presentation, it'll probably go smoother if he does it. And he wants to ask for 30,000 for each article. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which covers it perfectly, and it's a nice round number. So, and I heard him on the town council. I've heard him speak about this twice now, because he presents about town meeting in advance, lots of places, so that
Right.
people see it. And his attitude is that that this should easily be funded. It fits right in. It's what the town wants. He's very happy about Sundays. And the most recent meeting, he said, if anything happened to Sundays and we didn't, God forbid we couldn't do it, there's some kind of lockdown again or something, the money just goes back to the town. They don't
Right.
stand to lose anything. So funding it is relatively safe, a safe bet to do that at this point. So.
Well, what I
think
personally
time-
like about it is what we talked about in the last meeting is if it gets approved, which, if that goes forward and then we start doing it, when we're doing budget prep for the next budget for 23, it'll be funding. It's line item funding at that point. We're not asking for anything really new. We're just looking to
Right,
have more, than have a longer period. So
right,
it'll probably be almost double the amount, the request, but at least it's a line item request.
right.
So I think that's great. If that goes through, that'll be great. So we should stand, the way I gather, that if anybody's going to be going to town meeting, we should be prepared to defend it if we have to, but hopefully there won't be much discussion about it.
It sounds like there, I have not heard any questions every time he's spoken about it. I haven't heard any questions. The one thing that is significant is that if for some reason they voted against both articles,
Yeah.
Sunday is either way, but if they voted against the contract and said they didn't want to fund the contract, we won't be certified because we are short by about $350 on our appropriation. And when I contacted the MBLC, they said, just apply for a waiver. And once it goes through, you cancel your waiver. So that's what I intend to do. And I think that that will be fine.
Okay.
But in any freak scenario where this didn't get funded, we would not make certification. We'd probably get a waiver and be able to do it, but it would be messy.
Okay. So anyway, just a reminder that the town meeting's on November 6th. It's a early meeting, 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I assume they picked the field house because it's bigger.
Yeah, and you can sit outside too. So they have people outside and inside.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if you're uncomfortable about being inside, you can sit outside and they have a screen and an audio system.
Okay. Great. So any further discussion on this? Anyone else want to chime in?
No, I think it should go fairly cleanly, both
Sounds-
articles. It looks like a quick town meeting. I don't see anything there that's gonna draw a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. I read the warrant too, and it doesn't look like a lot. I don't know what the zoning thing is.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that was my only point too.
sometimes people bring that out. That brings people out, depending on what it's about. But, okay. All right, great. That's good.
Okay.
Next on that agenda is the draft of the 23 action plan. I guess, you want to do just a brief presentation, Catherine?
Okay, so these are the 4 goals. This action plan has 5 goals that we will have for the 5-year period of the plan. And within each of the goals, there's an objective. They're labeled 1 to 5 or whatever it is. And then every year, we come up with actions that will support those objectives. So that's what I've done here. I don't know that there's anything highly unusual. I don't know if you had a chance to look through it. It's tricky to write because it doesn't start, we're still working on last year's action plan, and this doesn't start until July. So you're kind of looking forward as to what could be a possible thing that you would want to be doing. One of the things that we did put in here was in goal 4, building connections. I thought it might be a good time to coordinate with the Disabilities Commission. There have been prior years where they've come in and gone through the building to make sure that services are accessible to everyone. And it's been a long time since we've done that. And I think there might be new people on the commission. So next summer or next fall might be a good time to do that. I don't know what else. The other idea we had was to redesign the gold room so that it's more comfortable for browsing. And one idea, and we don't know that we can do this, but this is what we want to look at. One idea is to move poetry and short stories and oversized books to that area because they're more browsable. They tend to not be checked out, but browsed. Fewer people are reading magazines in there now. So the space is not as well used as maybe it could be. So we'll look at that.
Catherine, there were two things that jumped out to me. One was under goal one, the intergenerational programs. I think that's a really exciting opportunity to kind of engage different members of the community together.
Yeah.
And then goal 3, the library tours. That you had given us a tour of the library. It was like one of the last things I did in real life in March 2020 before things shut down. So I think that's why it really stuck with me. But I think it's such a great, it's such a, you know, a beautiful building, and it's a great way to, I love that in terms of increasing visibility of like the services, but also just like the building itself and just some of the historical aspects and how that ties into the town. So I think that would be I really like that idea.
It might be useful for people to see too, in the event that things start falling apart. You know, Tim probably remembers that before they did the renovation in '99, the ceiling in the old building was in real disrepair. And that must have been I just found pictures of that. I had no idea it was in that condition. So that must have been a full-blown restoration when you had to do it. So we don't want to go back to being in a position where things have to be, you know, restored. We want to be able to maintain it. So a tour might help with that too. So this would need to go to the Mass Board of Library Commissioners by December 1st. So you can vote on it tonight, or you can take another month and vote on it next month, and I would still be able to get it in by December 1st.
Okay, my question then is, you've labeled this as a draft, but is it pretty much a complete draft for you? I mean, I didn't know if you were adding or.
No, it's a draft for me unless any of the trustees have things they want to add or change or.
So Catherine, it's a draft until we vote to approve it, and then it's good to go?
Yes.
Okay, that works for me. I'll make a motion to approve the action plan.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay. All right, we'll take a vote on the action, the motion to approve the action plan. Paul?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So it's all approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, looks great.
So next on the agenda is the mask policy review. So I guess my only question is, why are we looking at this again?
Jackie's going to help me with this.
Okay.
I can't make a real decision about this, but here is what the situation is. We adopted the mask policy that the town adopted, and I gave you the text of it again. And one of the things that it says is that if people who have a disability that prevents them from wearing a face mask, they don't have to wear one. So as a practical matter, we have a lot of people who come in and just simply refuse to wear a mask. And if you point out that you're supposed to have a mask on, they just say exempt and walk away. So maybe they're exempt. There are children in the building who cannot yet be vaccinated. So there are vulnerable people, there's vulnerable populations. and there are people in the building who don't have masks on. So the most recent example where it came to a head is that there were people who were using the space to meet. So they were there for a significant amount of time, and there was more than one person who was maskless. And the librarians sort of don't have, there's nothing that you can do about it. So, you know, maybe we don't want to do anything about it. Maybe it's every man for himself, and, you know, that's the town policy. So we keep the town policy. The alternative is that we say the library board of trustees are responsible for this building, and they have said that you have to wear a mask in the building, that there's a mask mandate with no exceptions. So if there's no exceptions, you can ask someone to leave. We would have to provide alternative services, which we would. We would say, you know, if you can't come in because you don't have a mask, tell us what you need and we'll help you get that. We'll do curbside, or we'll do whatever it is that you need, but we'll do it remotely. I tried to poll the staff to see what was better for them. You know, nobody wants this contentious situation, but I think they feel it's already contentious, and that they don't have a leg to stand on. They don't really have anything, you know, so I guess you're sort of picking your battles. Do we want to?
What do you mean by they don't have a leg to stand on?
Well, the policy doesn't give them enough support to say you have to leave the building. We can't, if someone says I have a disability, I can't wear a mask. You know, somebody said I'm allergic to masks, and we have no response to that. We have to take your word for it. You're saying you have an exemption. You can't wear a mask, you have an exemption, which could absolutely be true. But if there are people in the building without masks and they're breathing, and we're getting into the winter and, you know, the heat's on, I don't know. I don't know. It's
Catherine, so town buildings, you're supposed to wear a mask. Is that same exemption, you know, having issues in other places, or is it just library?
I imagine I tried to find out and I couldn't because I wasn't getting answers. I think everybody's busy. So
Yeah.
I wasn't able to reach anyone. But I think we're the only ones. The person I did reach was Judy Luciano at the senior center.
Yeah.
And she's not having any problems at all. But she runs it with an iron fist. She said if anybody came in, she would just tell them to leave. And
Also a different population.
And they would
Well,
have to leave.
that's what I was thinking. It's the range of people that are coming into the library. It's all ages and really hard to police from that point of
Yeah.
view.
And your staff has to wear a mask, correct?
Yes.
Staff has to wear.
Yeah.
So I think we should make it what you said, that because it isn't just, you know, people come and go and, you know, for a few minutes, they stay for longer periods of time, and there's always meetings and groups. So I would be okay with, you know, giving a little more muscle to the mandate from us. I'd be good with that. It's really not fair to the people who can't, you know, the vulnerable and your staff. So I would be for that.
And I think that, to Susan's point, by providing those alternate services, you kind of eliminate some of the contention. You say, okay, fine, that's fine. You can't wear a mask for whatever reason, but having that, being allowed to like have those alternate services, remote, whatever,
Right.
would help with that. Now you eliminate your staff from having to deal with people or like deal with, you know, any contentions or proven disabilities or whatever the reasons may be.
Well, I think the way Catherine also phrased it was that the way it's currently written provides for a loophole. And if we strike that loophole and just add what you're referencing right now, Paul, the line about, again, if there's a real issue, obviously we want to address it and come talk to us. Hopefully that gives the staff a little more, feel like they're a little more backed up to do what they have to do.
What I'd ask is, we adopted the policy at a special meeting in order to adopt the town policy. And that came, I'm assuming, from the Board of Health to the town for that adoption. And the question I'd have is, we now want to change that. So should we be running this by the Board of Health? Or at least the health director?
I did, and I didn't get an answer. So what I could do is, you could vote on it and have it subject to his approval.
Well, I mean,
Do we need the Board of Health approval? I mean, because I think what we're trying to get at is, if we already have, they say, hey, you got to wear this regardless of vaccination status, precluding that you don't have some sort of disability that prevents you from doing that. But if the intent is to have a safe environment for all patrons of the library, is it really necessary to go back to the Board of Health? Because that was like the intent of the policy, to say, hey, well, we want to say, hey, you're going to wear a mask regardless, or we're going to provide services outside of, the library if you can't.
I think we're kind of amending what we said. Can we put an addition to, or a clarification or amendment, whatever you want to call it? Because it is a unique population. I'm sure, schools, if someone is exempt in a school, they have an opportunity to check that. You have people that come in once, maybe every day, or maybe never again. So I would say try to do it, and then if somebody needs to okay it, I don't know if it's the town or the Board of Health, we can run it by them before. But I don't want to wait a month, not with this. This is the worst season for getting anything, so.
I'm only, the only reason I'm questioning is that we did it to adopt a town-wide policy for public buildings. And now we're looking to change it. I'm not saying we shouldn't. What I'm saying is it would now be inconsistent with the rest of the town buildings. So is that something we're going to accept? And then the other issue is, if the Board of Health had a problem with it, or the health director had a problem with it, where we were not allowing somebody who has a legitimate exemption. Now, I know we can't be policing exemptions. So I know we can't be in that position. It's not a school department where, this, who it is, who the kids are, the regular parents that show up, that type of thing. So we are in a unique situation. I'm not saying we aren't. I just want to make sure that we're not off on our own and hear about it later saying, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do it.
Right. Because I'm kind of curious to see if what happens at town hall, because
Town hall definitely requires to make you wear a mask.
Wear a mask, yeah.
Right. So I mean,
I
somebody says they're exempt there. What do? They, I don't think they can come in. So,
I mean, I was at town hall today, and you basically need to get ID'd.
Yeah.
To go in the building.
Yeah.
They want your name, your address, and your phone number.
And a temperature check.
Going.
Yeah, and a temperature check.
Temperature check, yeah.
Well, the temperature check is gone now.
Oh, they got rid of it.
But name, address, and what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not a
so
practical.
I don't know what's easier for Catherine, you and Jackie and the staff. I mean, I don't want to say, is it easier to turn a blind eye? Or do you want to engage that and chase them out?
Yeah,
I think the issue is,
sort of where I was, that it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, and what is more difficult? Because no matter what happens, it's a contentious situation.
No, there's no upside.
There doesn't seem to be.
I mean, I'm not, do you have a sense, or you and Jackie either have a sense of how often this really occurs? I mean, is it
Every
know,
single day.
every single
I'm sure it
day?
is.
We're
Oh,
up
yeah.
to, we're
Every
up to
single day.
We're up to every day. We actually, Jackie and I mentioned today that it has now been so frequent that I walked by someone and had a delayed reaction. It was like 5 minutes later when I thought to myself, that guy didn't have a mask on. And he was sitting and doing this whole thing. And, I don't know how long he was there. But I realized, and then I looked and he was still there and he didn't have a mask on.
Is it possible to take people, and I know they do this at town meeting. In essence, there was a non-masked area. If you're going to be in this area, you have to have one on. If you really feel the need not to have one, we'll fence in a spot outside the building so you can still get the Wi-Fi. Wear a jacket.
Yeah, because you can't be outside. You can be outside now.
But is there some kind of accommodation like that makes it easier for the staff to deal, yet, keeping your policy in place where you have to have a mask inside?
What if,
I don't know if that will work.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good
Conversation, I guess.
I think the hard thing about it is that if you're in a store, it says, recommended masks. So if you're running in to get something, you're gonna, and you're out, that's one thing. But you don't know how long someone stays at the library. Some people just come, in, drop their books. They might be there 10 minutes. And other people, like you say, could be there all morning, all afternoon, all over the library.
all
The-
over the
I think-
place.
The meeting in question went on for almost 3 hours. The one with
Right.
2 people unmasked, it was almost 3 hours that they were there.
So it's, that kind of contact with other people that's for an extended period of time, over 15, 20 minutes. So, I just think we have to make some kind of amendment to it and addendum to it and, vote it in and then make sure that it's okay with the town. I don't think they're going to want to see a problem at the library. I don't think they're going to want to see any kind of issue that is associated with the library of someone getting sick. And we are entering the worst time for people to get sick.
Right.
So
I do think it's much easier if someone is using our space to have a meeting, to say, look, you can't do that. You need to have a mask on if you're gonna have a meeting in here. I think that's easy. I think it's harder with the day-to-day. I'm just walking through, leave me alone.
but they don't
th-
want
those-
to walk through.
Those
Somebody-
fights, I think those fights
Yeah.
are gonna be frequent
It's
and
It's
difficult.
currently not easy though. I mean, people just go, I have a disability, and barring calling them a liar, there's nothing
I don't
you
think-
can
I don't think you can ask. That's where it's tough.
ask. They
What
just
is-
don't have to
Yeah.
answer.
what is
And-
the
but we
current
wouldn't ask.
sign? Oh, sorry, Jen. What
No,
is the
no.
current signage in the library in terms of masks? Does it say recommended? Does it say required?
Required per the Board of Health.
On the front doors, like just on the entryway?
On the bathroom doors, throughout the building, on the digital sign. You have to walk by a sign in front of each door on an easel that says it.
I know, just as another thing to throw out there, because I know signs, no matter how many they are, you just get used to seeing them and then you don't read them anymore. Do you guys use like the announcements, the library is closing in 10 minutes? What do you call that? PA system.
PA system.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of reminders, like maybe every hour and a half, just as a reminder of masks are required in the library? Anything like that that could
No, we've never tried that.
maybe just be another way to sort of gentle nudge? Because it
Well,
is a
there's
thing. I
There's
don't.
no gentle nudge. People are just gonna be adamant and not do it and F you, personally.
No,
I
Paul,
think.
So I
right,
think
yeah.
that you gotta find a way to either have a policy or find an accommodation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
As a reminder,
I don't know how hard the accommodation actually is. And do you see yourself, when someone says, too bad, I'm staying, are you calling the police? I mean,
That's where it would go. And it would be relatively simple, because if you don't, and this is every policy in the library, if a librarian says you're disruptive, you need to leave. If you don't leave, it's trespass. So if someone still won't leave, you get another librarian and say, this is trespass, you need to leave. If the person still doesn't leave, you call the police department, and the police department says, you have a trespass on you and you need to not be in this building. I think that they do that for businesses too. Sometimes you see
yeah.
in the police logs that the police have come by. It seldom gets to that point, and it seems like we weren't open for a year, but it seems like we haven't been needing that in a very, very, very long time.
Fortunately.
Yeah, which is nice. Sometimes there'll be groups of kids that it will happen with kids, but that hasn't happened in a very long time. I think it's, I don't know if it would make everything worse. I don't know if it would make people more argumentative, but it could make it, at least it gives us something that's firm, that's not so, I mean, right now, you kind of just have to walk away.
Yeah, you need
But
an
isn't the policy in
enforcement.
place? I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I was just gonna say, the staff needs some sort of enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Or let me rephrase, an effective
Mm.
enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, and the proposed amendment here, Catherine, I think it just makes it firmer for you all, right? I mean, it just sort of makes it a little more cut and dry. We've adopted the policy. This is just a way for you all to feel more empowered to say, this is the rule, and if it has to go from 0 to 90, then it goes from 0 to 90, which is not ideal, but at least it's sort of a measure of empowerment, is my read on the edit anyway.
Right.
I think the rule and the policy as it reads on paper is different than the experience of being in person trying to enforce the rule. I think that's the other, what position?
I think the shall not
staff in.
apply piece is where they have an issue. Because now you have like a shall not apply to these people. And so then it's like, okay, what do you say? Right? At that point.
But you mentioned, Catherine, something like, due to the variety of population and vulnerability of some of the population, being young kids. If you cannot wear a mask, we offer alternate services. This is what you do. And you're going to sign it from, it's going to be us, right? It's going to be Board of Trustees that would be adding that little. So don't give out our names and numbers.
It disrupts service for people who maybe are
Complying with the regulations?
who have secondary health issues and feel that they need to be more careful. If I knew there was a mask mandate someplace and I go and I have, whatever extra thing that I have to worry about, that I might be susceptible, and I go in and find out that, oh yeah, there's a mandate, but there's all kinds of people who don't follow it. I'm not going to feel like I can go back. So people who are trying to stay safe. And I think the number one group there are children that you have. We had a gentleman who I spoke to, and he said, I have an exemption, and walked away from me, and then wandered all over the youth room, just walked all over the youth room without a mask. And children don't even have an option.
Right. It's not okay.
Well, and children under 3 really can't be masked either. So, toddlers.
Right.
So,
Right. So the way that I had drafted the proposal, it still includes the children under 3. So, I mean, yeah, babies are not gonna be in masks or won't have to. Although we find that a lot of them are fine with it, not the little ones, but like 3-year-olds and 2-year-olds will wear them.
I just mean that makes, they're a vulnerable population and they don't have
Yes.
the option of wearing a mask. So for, because I could see a patron saying, well, if someone's vulnerable, if they're not vaccinated, they should wear a mask, but there's a population of young
Yes.
children, babies that cannot, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could approve the policy as amended. I would recommend that we, subject to the Board of Health approval, I guess, or the health director, not necessarily the Board of Health, only because we don't want to be inconsistent and we don't want to do something we're not supposed to be doing. I don't know all the regulations and guidance that has been put out, so I think we should be sure we're on the right side here. I agree that we should give the librarians some more teeth in the policy. And it seems to me, I think what's going to happen is you're still going to have the argument, but now you're going to be up against the wall and say, okay, we don't accept the exemptions, you have to leave. Then push comes to shove at that point, what if they don't leave?
Well, no, the
So-
problem is if someone actually is disabled and has an issue, and now we're not letting them in a facility because they're on oxygen, because they have an issue. I mean, we talked earlier about the Commission on Disabilities coming back through the building and taking a look at it. Is that a
Yeah.
liability thing? And you're weighing the potential for that, which I believe is minimal but exists. When we go off on our own policy that is, different than what the town policy is. And my sympathy is with the staff and the people in there. But it's a very weird position to be in. So, if we make it, blanket mandatory, do we need town council to kind of sign off on that?
Well, that's why I threw it out there, is that this was drafted and it was adopted town-wide. Now we're modifying it, so
I'm happy to approve it, subject to Tom Mullins' approval, way more so than the Board of Health.
Right.
Yeah. Tom Mullen usually says that it's the trustees have control over that area, including the plaza and everything. And as long as you have the policy and you voted on the policy, they tend to be legitimate. But there are cases where you can't make policy because it's that's overridden by other state law or whatever, then you can't do that. So this could fall in that case, that you can't have you have to have an exemption for people who are actually have a disability or are on oxygen. I have the sense that what covers us is the ability to say, we can serve you remotely.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the one thing there, just how you have it worded, is that it should be the library shall provide services, you know what I mean? Not like, and then make it so that if there is some sort of reason why you can't wear a mask, we're gonna open that up, and then how that looks for you guys with staffing.
Well, and the other thing is, if there's multiple people, per day, it's highly unlikely that they're all really compromised. And if
I
there's
agree.
there's so many unmasked, compromised people at the building at the same time, we're protecting those people too, by saying there's too many people that are compromised without masks, whether they're, there's too many masked people at one
Right.
time in the library. So whether, we're protecting the young compromised, the older compromised, the truly compromised. So I think we're being proactive to be more protective. And I think we should do it. And if you want, if you feel we need to run it by them, run it by it. And if they say no, then it doesn't go into effect. But I think we're beating a dead horse here. I think we need to do something.
Yeah,
I was
I
just
don't
gonna
dis-
say though, I
Go
don't
ahead.
disagree, I don't disagree with the policy change in language. It's one of those things where I worry about the unintended consequences of that change. And there will be someone or a group of people who will feel very strongly that they're being denied their, I don't know, I worry about the people who truly can't be masked, but also the people who are just, I don't know what the consequences. It's so
That's a
contentious.
little bit where I was going.
So one thing is that
With
no
you.
matter what we do, not everybody's going to be happy. But I think here it's almost like a triage situation where we have to have a policy that provides a safe environment at the library for the most amount of people.
Right, but if somebody, how are we going to enforce this though? I mean, I really liked Amy's suggestion of using the PA system, because at least that's kind of a voice, and it's not a person-to-person interaction where a staff member, I'm thinking of the staff in general, and it's mostly female, if I would feel very uncomfortable if I was in that position and I had to go up to somebody who maybe, bigger than me or whatever, and have to tell them they had to leave because they're not wearing a mask. So I just want to kind of think through the practical application. I agree that people should be masked. I'm just wondering how, from a practical implementation standpoint.
Well, I did ask the librarians about that, and we're sort of trained in these kinds of things. Because there's lots of things that can, when, we're in a building where you have to share scarce resources, and there's lots of things that can be, you can butt heads over. So we kind of know how to do that so everybody's happy, try to get everybody happy. You're trying to say yes as often as possible. You're trying to do the best thing for as many people as possible. And when I spoke with the librarians who have had the most of these experiences, they're telling me that it's going to be a difficult situation either way. You're not going to get away from conflict. There's going to be some conflict. But most of them seem to be saying that they would prefer to have a policy that gave them the ability to say, this is the rule. If you don't follow the rule, I'm afraid you have to leave. Because what happens is they have a rule, it becomes a stalemate because people are playing it.
Mhm.
So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just talking because when I put this together, I was trying to come up with something that would make it easy for you to, this will be an easy vote. But I don't know what the right thing to do is. It's probably different it could be different in every case. And what happens when somebody does walk in with a thing of oxygen, which I've never seen happen because they're staying home because they're not going to places where they could be vulnerable.
Right.
I think we vote on it and we change it, and if we have to amend it next month again, then we amend it next month again. I mean, I feel like we're not going to know the consequences of it until we just put it out there. And, I mean, we're aware that there are people who obviously need the exception, and we're going to make every accommodation to do so with the remote things, just like we did early in the reopening phases. So I say we just do it.
Do it.
Well,
One
I'm fine
quick
with
question.
that, except I really do think we should run it by the health director, to be honest with you.
Well, what does the amendment say? Can we put that in? What does the amendment say? Can we read
But
it?
That's subject to approval or
Yeah, let's just add that. if that's appropriate to add it to the actual language.
Yeah,
You can say subject to review of town council and approval by the Board of Health.
To be honest with you, Chris, I don't think it's town council. I think council says we
Oh,
have.
no, I think you are creating a liability issue for someone who has an
I think
accommodation or needs a,
you send it to Steve and you send it to the Board of Health
yeah,
and see who responds.
here you go. Here's our policy.
Here's what we want to do. Any objections? We're making signs tomorrow.
Okay, so why don't we, let's craft a motion that it's to accept the modified mask requirement policy, subject to Board of Health and town approval. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Paul?
yes.
Oh, wait, yeah, we had a second, right? Yeah, all right. Amy,
Yes.
yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So unanimous. All right, well, good luck with that one.
we'll let you know how that goes. It might be back again next month.
Well,
Worth a try.
I think it's worth a try too.
Right. Yeah.
all right, well, let's stay off the front page.
can I, sorry, just tangent here, but thinking of masks and children and them being unvaccinated. Over the summer and fall and BBCon, we did so much of the children's programming outdoors. Now, as we have the weather changing drastically this week, are you are you doing story times and everything indoors coming up soon? Or are you stopping some of the programming?
I think it's gonna be, Jackie might know better than I do because I don't have the most recent information. I think they're reducing numbers. Is that?
They've reduced numbers. There are going to be slightly fewer programs, but we typically do slightly fewer in November and December because of holidays and stuff. So they're on a, I think the story times start again next week, and they are reduced. They're all in the lecture hall. And obviously for everything advanced registration is required, which wasn't usually true.
And then the masks are 2 and up or 3 and up or
3 and up.
3 and up is the policy? Okay. I was just curious because I know all the kids now at school, the sniffles and sneezes are going around and everyone's testing and all that stuff. So I just kind of was thinking this season's going to be a lot different than last season. We're not as sanitized and as masked as we were. So yeah, didn't know how the programming was going to go.
Yeah, it's more space in the lecture hall.
Yeah.
And we know what those numbers should be. So we've upgraded all of the filters. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the MOU, Friends MOU. So policy update
Yes, so I thought I had enclosed the Friends policy from 1987. I updated it with a couple of sentences that I thought were the key things that we needed a memorandum of understanding for. I think the process went on for so long that maybe everybody didn't realize where it had all come from. Before the current iteration of the Friends, there was a short period of time where the Friends group was going to dissolve. And if it had dissolved the way we thought it might have, there would not have been any group at all. Whereas if there is an understanding that if you no longer are participating as a friend, you will resign, that keeps the organization live so you can get another volunteer to carry on. So that was really the only thing that I wanted to address. So I added a single sentence. Should the Friends cease to actively fundraise and promote the library, they will resign to allow an active group to be established. And I got that from a ALA, an ALA thing.
So I had a question about that because I did like read the Friends bylaws. I went through the MOU. I did like a little bit of Google research and like reading some other things, and then reading the policy from 84, 87 or something like that,
87, yeah.
before I was born. But so my thing is, the policy applies to the library, correct? Like,
It applies to the library and the Friends.
okay. So are you thinking about, I was like, because looking at it, I just felt, I was like, hey, this is great, because it kind of shows like, this is like a library policy for staff. And then the MOU, there was a couple of things in there that I proposed, or like, I would have been like, hey, you can change this, but based on their bylaws, it seems that if they were gonna dissolve, it's almost like redundant, you know, because they're like, if their board members cease to like attend like 3 meetings or do certain things, and you know, they kind of elect new people for it and the group goes on. But that understanding piece is was kind of, I thought it would be, I thought, you know, a course of action that would probably be good would be to keep the policy and have the MOU. And the big thing I thought was that the MOU should probably just be reviewed like every, you know, 2 to 3 years. So that with changes or whatever, so it's not like forever standing. And I didn't know what other people thought about that, but that way you could go back to the MOU and see, hey, this is what the Friends are gonna do. This is what the library's responsibilities are. If anything should change, rather than have something written in stone forever.
I see that two ways. In some ways, you don't want things written in stone forever, but you also need it to be general enough so that when you haven't gone back to the policy, it's still valid and works. So this policy was written in 1987, but it's still amazingly accurate. It still does work. I just thought instead of, we were having trouble, it seems like we were having trouble going back and forth with a new document that 2 different boards were trying to agree on. So that if, I don't know how many times that memorandum went back and forth, but people were not sure that they wanted to do it. And Kevin Scanlon had said he thought it was redundant totally, and he didn't want it at all. And then the Friends looked at it and almost totally rewrote it to something that was from San Jose. And in all of that, what got missed was this one sentence that I really wanted, where we wouldn't lose the organization if everybody stopped working. And I know the Friends have the sense, and it's in their bylaws, that the money always goes to the library. So it's not a matter of the money so much. It's that if everybody walks away and that organization dies and you don't have it anymore, you'd have to get volunteers to start a new organization, which is harder than getting volunteers to reinvigorate an existing organization, which is what we have now and is working fine. But we just got very close to losing that. So that was that one sentence that I added. So I don't know, if you think the memorandum is definitely the way to go, I think that we need to work on that and rewrite it.
And I like this much better, because
Yeah.
I had concerns with language in other drafts that, kind of said the Friends have input and direction to our strategic planning kind of initiatives. And I thought the Friends had more power than they should, being involved, quote, in our business.
Mhm.
I think the other thing
That
about,
was
Yeah.
where I had issues looking at the document.
I think what's nice about starting with something that was, agreed upon in 1987, like it shows how much of it is still very much the same and active today. And it's also like, we're not trying to recreate the relationship as is already really clearly defined. Here are just a couple of, based on recent experiences, here are a couple of points that we think just might need to be added. I agree, it's a lot cleaner and easier than the memo of understanding was becoming quite convoluted.
Yeah. I like the phrase not recreating the relationship, because I think that's what the Friends got nervous about. So they were adding things into that memorandum because they were recreating the relationship, and that wasn't really the goal.
Mhm.
So so these are proposed changes to the policy,
Mhm.
but that doesn't necessarily mean an MOU would be used. Is that correct?
No, we
Like-
wouldn't need an MOU then. We would just have the policy.
Just modify the policy. Okay.
That's my preference.
And then would you want to run these modifications by the
Yeah,
board
yes,
at
I-
the Friends?
yes, I would give it to the Friends so that they could see it. But it's a policy the same way that we have a policy, say, for volunteers. You have a volunteer policy. You've made the decision that this is how volunteers work at the library. They don't
Mhm.
necessarily have input into it. But there's nothing disagreeable into it. It just kind of sets the framework. So that's what this is. It's setting the framework. And for the most part, from as I look at it, this isn't going to change anything unless something happens and I'm at a meeting and everybody decides to walk. I can say, well, wait a minute. You can't, somebody has to stay until we recruit somebody new, because look, it says in the policy, if you're not going to actively fundraise, you'll allow other people to join. So that, and that's how that's sort of how they exist anyway. It's just sort of redefining it.
Do they have to follow our policy?
Yeah, that's what that's why I think the MOU
Yeah.
is necessary.
Like, you can say, oh, wait, it's in the policy, you guys can't all walk out the room. Can't they just say,
They're a private organization, and that's where I think
501(c)(3), why do they have to follow our policy?
Because if they all walk out of the room, they won't be a 501(c)(3) anymore.
So that goes back to the bylaws, but
If they abandon that structure, it will, that's what we don't want. We don't want them to abandon the structure.
yeah, I guess I just don't know why
oh,
they
go ahead,
have
Amy.
to obey
Go ahead.
our law, our policy. I don't know, my Galvin student doesn't have to obey the Woodville policy just because she's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't have to wear a mask in the library either because it's a policy,
Right.
but it's the policy.
I guess I didn't think that we could oversee or govern how the Friends does things.
Well, we already do. So
Yeah.
the existing policy says that the trustees, the existing policy defines the purpose of a Friends group.
Right.
The Friends might not agree with that, but the trustees in 1987 defined it, and that's, and if push comes to shove and a group of people want to do something totally different, you're able to say, but this is what the organization needs. This is what you signed on to. If they don't want to do this, they'll create another organization. They'll create something different.
So their bylaws don't trump our policy? Pardon the phrase.
It's not that they don't trump the policy so much as that the policy is more of a framework.
Okay.
This is what a friends group is.
In theory, their bylaws probably were written or based off of what the
Right,
policy
yes.
was. Like, I think the
Yeah,
policy,
if
I
you
don't know.
look at the bylaws.
Right, like I'm wondering, is there something in the bylaws that says you guys can't all walk out of the room and like you've got to, you know?
The policy may predate their bylaws, may predate
Yeah.
their creation. I don't know. So it's kind of, it's one of those things like similar to we were talking about the mask thing. It's like having the policy to go back to. So it's not about taking anything away. They should have been working under this policy, under the framework of this policy anyways, right? Like, and I think they probably are. This is just,
Yeah.
it provides a starting point that's updated for 2021 or, where we are.
Right.
40 years later or whatever.
I think the policy versus the MOU is like, hey, we have this policy. The way I see it is like the library has or the board, we have a policy that's like, hey, this is what we're going to look for the Friends to do, right? That kind of governs how the library and the board looks at the Friends. The MOU kind of makes the requirements like, hey, we're going to agree to do these things. You guys are going to agree to do these things. And I read it as, because the policy doesn't apply to you, kind of like the Friends, like it says, hey, this is what we're looking to a Friends group to do, but we don't dictate like how they do all that stuff. But they have certain requirements, right? They got to be, legally separated, constituted. They have these things that we're like, hey, that's the group that we're going to work with. And so that's why I thought making some changes to the MOU and then identifying those roles between the Friends and the roles and responsibilities between the Friends and of the library was good, but then our policy shouldn't, because I thought the older policy was pretty like vague enough to be like it stood the test of time so far, almost 20 years. So that's kind of how I read it.
Are we all totally confused?
Yeah, well,
No, I think we should go back to the policy and add that, that information that protects what could have happened a few years ago. And we're not doing an MOU. I think that makes perfect sense. That it's just, it's the framework, it's a general understanding, and we don't need to know every day. We don't need to have input for every detail that how they're running or what exactly they're planning on do. And just like they shouldn't be doing what we're doing. So I think we should go back to that. And again, the mask in this has just been recurring. It's like Groundhog Day. So let's get.
I know.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of rain. So is that what we're gonna do? Let's do that. Let's do.
Well,
the other thing about this policy is that I think the Friends will agree with this. The other part of the issue is that I think the memorandum of understanding was making the Friends nervous, that it was another document. And I know Kevin didn't like it. He didn't understand the legal requirements of it.
I don't think any of us.
I've only been a trustee for a short while, and my understanding is that just the MOU term in general made some folks uncomfortable, right? So I think that just Sue said, I think treating it this way with policy revisions and moving forward makes the most sense.
I agree too, but well, why don't we leave it this way? Catherine, why don't you have your discussion with the Friends, and if there's no other objections, we'll formulate the modifications and vote on a new modified policy. And like all our policies, they get updated and changed. And this one is, it's due, if that's the case. So why don't we handle it that way and avoid the MOU altogether? It just seems to be layering upon layering. So,
Okay, I'll do that.
all right, is that okay with everybody for now?
Fabulous.
Yep,
So
sounds
we
great.
rehash this again?
Do it again in November.
Okay. Last on the agenda is a standard of conduct. And I do have to ask the question, why are we looking at the standard of conduct?
Well, we're looking at the standard of conduct because we had a question from a patron whether or not he could bring his concealed weapon into the library.
Oh, Jesus.
He has a permit for it. And when I looked at the standard of conduct, I realized that it was last updated in 2014. And when I read it, I realized that it seems to have been, in 2014, we probably were having greatest difficulties with teenagers. So that the text of the standards are geared toward young people, I think. They apply to everyone, but I think it's geared toward young people. I also think that it incorporates detail that we just don't want to have. There are things that we don't even look at anymore. Just times have changed. And if I could update this, in a simple way, that's what I would have done, and I would have presented it. But I think that it needs to be updated much more stringently than how I usually do it. So I gave you 2 copies of other standards of conduct. Melrose used ours in just a couple of years ago in January of 2020. It's very similar to ours, but they updated the text a little bit. But when I was looking at other policies, I saw one at the Forbes Library, and it's 11 points. And they're relatively general points. And they give a lot of discretion to a librarian to take a disturbance in context. So you can say, there's no eating in the library. But if you've got somebody in a carrel with a protein bar studying for an exam, you know, the reality is that's not a problem. If you're eating Chinese food over a keyboard, that's a problem. So you can't always legislate every single event that's going to happen. So I like that the Forbes library policies, they're much more general. So what I'm proposing is that I rewrite the standards of conduct to match the Forbes policy format. It wouldn't be exactly the same items there, but it would be similar. And I can remove references to boom boxes and other things that just are not an issue anymore. You know, our policy says treat other patrons and staff with courtesy, and then lists all these things that are inappropriate. I don't think we should be listing things. I think because those things change over time. What was inappropriate in 2014 probably isn't inappropriate now. So all I'm asking for is a little direction on this, and if you would be okay with my doing that, changing it.
So we just talked about changing a policy to move in a direction of closing some loopholes, and it seems like this policy would be moving to in the other direction. You know, a lot more vague, a lot more at the discretion of the librarian. Is this going to give you the teeth you need to conduct your business, basically?
I think that it will, and I think it will give us more teeth, because the current policy is so detailed that someone could say to you, could debate what a disruption is based on what's listed in what we have listed as disruptions. Whereas a disruption could be things we haven't even thought of before. I mean, every day something new happens.
Not wearing a mask?
Yeah, yeah. So that can be a disruption. And also, this standard of conduct doesn't say anything about weapons at all. So I think making it general in terms of specific behaviors, not general in terms of listing everything that's not, identifying what's not appropriate. If it's causing a disturbance, you can't do it.
So I'm good with going in this direction. The other question I have is how does this relate or address to the particular question of concealed carry?
I'm gonna have to figure that out.
All right, that's why we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah, I spoke with Tom Mullen about it, and he said that is definitely up to the trustees, and it needs to be part of a policy. And you know, if you're talking about generally, I don't think we have to talk about concealed carry. I think what we have to talk about is weapons, and a weapon doesn't have a place in the library. And our experience is that weapons can be all kinds of things. So if you're weaponizing something, it's a weapon and you shouldn't have it. And I think that would cover us for everything without getting into details of what the state says you can and cannot do.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that sounds right. I will admit that I read the policy, which probably haven't read in a long time, and I had to look up the word olfactory.
Yeah, oh, you can't.
I had to
use
look it
words.
up.
I know. I am not going to use that word with a patron. They're just going to laugh at me.
I had to look it up. I had no idea what it was. I kind of gathered what it was, but I didn't know for sure. So
I know.
now I know what it is.
I know. Jackie was taking a course on writing for the web, and I write things maybe 4 or 5 times, and I start with these really elaborate sentences, and then I cross out half of it, and then I end up with these really, you know, I can't have parenthetical thoughts, and I need to make it concise. I'm not very good at concise, but olfactory was not my word. That's a Sharon word.
No, I gathered Sharon did that.
Yeah.
My guess is she probably, believe it or not, had that in her head and used it, thinking that everybody knows what it is. I'm really just joking, because that, you know.
Well,
But
we are a library, so we're, you know, raising the bar.
okay, well,
Yes.
Yeah.
no, I agree with Jeff, and you should probably, this is a good time to look at it and make it a little more applicable to what we're dealing with today. And the only thing I would suggest is that you engage the staff on this a little bit, you know, to, you know, get that out on your, like, I think you said you're going to have a couple of staff meetings, full staff meetings. And I think that would be a good thing to bring up, because everybody in the staff has to deal with this. And not just, you know, you guys at the top, everybody has to deal with it. So I'd just say, let's get their input at this point. If you're going to be redoing a policy. When was this? What was this? 08 was the last time it was. Oh no, 014 it was looked at.
2014, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was only 7 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's ready. And what you're saying about talking to the staff is vital with a policy that's more general, because you have to be sure everybody's thinking the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it has to be administered in the same way without those details.
Yep.
You know, what is a disturbance? And everybody has to kind of come to agreement on that.
But to make your point, you have to come to an agreement what that is, but then you got to be able to word it in such a way that it's flexible enough to deal with what you're doing, you know,
Right,
but give you some teeth to enforce it if you have to.
right.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on this standard of conduct? Okay. All right, folks. That is the end of a long agenda. I know this dragged on a little bit. I had a funny feeling when I saw the agenda. This was going to be a little longer than I normally like to have a meeting.
Tim, Madeline has her hand up.
Oh, hi, Madeline.
Hi, just like before we adjourn or anything, I wanted to let everyone know that there's actually going to be another liaison joining me for the library committee. Her name is Tegan, and I believe she'll be at the next meeting. So yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that happened today. So it's a very new thing, but yeah.
Have her email us.
Great.
Yeah,
That's
like I said, this happened today. So Catherine Dinger will probably connect her and everything.
Good.
All right, well, don't
Yeah.
scare her off by telling her how long this meeting took, okay? We'll be more efficient. All right, so our next meeting is November 17th, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just prior to Thanksgiving. Let's see. That's about it. Nothing else unanticipated by the chair. Great. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Paul,
Hi.
Amy,
Aye.
Scott,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Susan, Jeff,
Aye.
Chris,
yes.
and I'm an aye. So everybody have a good night.